no, sorry, were attacked.
Yes.
In all these countries, well, that's already a sign of they should realize that they have to be a step ahead. That the face thing should not be the biggest thing now.
Well, but I think in a way, the protests in that way worked perfect in the hands of the Chinese government, because it aroused the sentiment of the Chinese people, and it could be lovely used by the government propaganda machine to say, see, we only promote friendly games in Beijing, and then these Westerners attack. I think this was the reason why while the London protest wasn't covered, but of course via the internet percolated down to the masses, then they decided, okay, we show it because it's going to help the government standpoint.
Anyway, all these images we could see already now everywhere on the internet.
Yeah. Speaking of images being everywhere on the internet, I'd like to look at one actually right now out of China. And this is a picture that's circulating now of the Carrefour protest. You can see, if you can read the sign closely, the bottom one you can see more clearly. It says, "This is so-called human rights in France?" ? Let me ask you, Lucy, from a Chinese perspective, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, this famous picture, I think that's the girl, that's the beginning of the attitude of boycott Carrefour. That's the girl who was standing in front of one of the Carrefour in Beijing with all the pictures. And on the picture, we can see very, very clearly the handicapped girl with only one leg. She's been beaten in Paris, and we see very really this picture. She was beaten. She's hurt. She's hurt. Well, she's one of the heroes in China now because she used her body to protect the touch. She's hurt.
I thought they had about a dozen policemen to protect
her. She's hurt. Well, unfortunately, we didn't see any picture about this girl in all the French TV and media. So why the girl put this picture big like this is just to say that they are very mad at the so-called high-level state leader protection from the French part, that they even could not protect a one-leg girl from beaten. Well, that's something, the beginning of the furious of the Chinese people.
Okay. Wing Tai Wu, how effective were those pictures, do you think, for the Chinese to circulate?
Well, I must tell you, I didn't see the picture you show. But
they're pictures of the Olympic protests, where I'm sure you'll remember the image of the Chinese or the torch runner in the wheelchair that was approached by protesters.
I think that was certain. Protesters attacking someone on a wheelchair, regardless of what the event is, it is a scene that would spark outrage. How could you be mean to somebody in a wheelchair?
But I mean, it does.
I think, yes, it did mobilize.
It played into Chinese hands.
The demonstration.
And I think I agree. And of course, it worked perfectly into the argument of the Chinese government.
Yeah. I'd like to switch gears then, actually, and ask Wing Tai this question. We've only really been focusing on the effect that this might have on the Chinese-French business relationship. But there's also another area of business in question here, and that is that of the Olympic sponsors themselves. Wing Tai, you being in the United States, we're looking at major corporations like Visa and Coca-Cola now question their involvement in the Olympics and their sponsorship of the Olympics. Where do you see this going?
I think there will continue to be expressions of concern, but in the end, most likely the sponsorships will go through when the Olympics begins. I think we have now a situation where all sides could report victory. The Dalai Lama today, he was quoted in the press as saying that his people are already in conference with the Chinese about the Tibetan political situation. And so if the American businesses were to be seen pulling out, they would say they mustn't pull out now because otherwise they are undermining the process that is in place.
Okay.
Because the Chinese and the Tibetans have started talking.
Go ahead, Stefan.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with your analysis, and I don't think that the Americans will pull out. There's 4 months to go. There's big money involved. You can't go back on a contract that easy.
They wouldn't pull out, but they're keeping a low profile. I mean, they didn't appear in either the Paris leg or the San Francisco leg of the Olympic torch relay. They paid millions for this endorsement.
That's right, but I mean, they'll be back for the games, and that's where it really counts. That's where the minutes, that's where all people are going to watch the events, and that's when you, in the background, Coca-Cola or Nike or whatever, that's when the message is going to come over. So I think that played a smart game, disassociate you from the run and from the process, and wait until the games are running, and then we'll be back in business.
Well, anyway, there's only one Olympic game in the world, and it's universal. So that's one of the reasons why the Olympic torch became the symbol of the peace, became the symbol of their disagreement, because it's too much commercialized right now. It's become a product, not only a sport event, it's already a commercial event, as we can say, a media event. Yeah. But anyway, just one thing I'd like to I'd like to add about that girl. She's talking about human rights. Well, that's just one thing is maybe all the demonstrations we had one huge in Australia. We will have one in France this weekend. Organized by the Chinese overseas students. What they want to show is not only we want to boycott what we got boycotted. What they want to say is maybe the so-called universal value by the Western world is not universally taken as universal value.
And who decides that? Is that the Chinese people, or is it for the government to decide?
Students, the Chinese students, they organize that.
Yeah, I know that they organize, but the question on universal values, be very careful, because that's to the government to decide what is freedom, what is democracy.
I don't think there will be any government who could decide which is the value of the human beings. No.
No, but the human rights issue, of course, in Beijing is decided by the government. Mm-hmm. And so that's why when in the beginning it said that now the government in Beijing discovers free speech because it's in the vision and it's into the right direction. It makes me kind of smirk.
But anyway, that's the opportunity for all the people, the Chinese people, even including the Chinese government. They had the first time some event like this. They put themselves under the lights for during 2 weeks, and more than that, even after the Olympic Games, we will not stop only there.
But that's because they said they're going to be opening up. They have more access for journalists. And they find themselves now under scrutiny. So, I mean, for this, as long as it goes, the record hasn't been that good.
There's no specific condition written how much, with which condition they should be open.
Said,
but at
China
least
said they wanted to open up for the games.
They have to, at least. And there's willing from the Chinese people. We should consider that.
There's what?
There's the willing from the Chinese people. We should consider that.
The government.
To open up, you mean? To West.
But it has to come from the government, though. And is it coming from the government? And you're saying there's will from the Chinese people
I'm
to
not
open up.
part of the government. I could not understand for the government. At least for the Chinese people, they have this willing, and they are waiting for the progress. But do not stop. Do not build the war while they are trying to break a war.
Okay, we've just 30 seconds left. Let me get final comments from Wing Tai Wu in Washington.
Well, I think for sure, I think the Chinese people see the Olympics as a great celebration of Chinese success and not necessarily as a success of the Chinese Communist Party. So since it is to celebrate the success of celebrate the achievements of the people, why should the outside world equate it as a great success of the Communist Party?
Okay.
So I think a lot of the outrage is having to do with why this identification.
Okay, Wing Tai Wu, you will have the last word because, unfortunately, we are completely out of time for this edition of the debate. So I'd like to thank our panelists so much for joining us. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in as well. Another edition tomorrow, then. Do join us. Bonsoir.